Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back to Married at First Sight UK Series 8, and we are now on episode 27. But before we get into this episode, as I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so when you know I am on and doing videos. And let's continue with the rigmarole that is Married at First Sight, shall we? And it's dinner party time. Dinner party time. You know, it ain't gonna go easy. It ain't gonna get easy on them when it's dinner party time. We know this. So basically with dinner party time, it's anonymous letter time. So anybody of the couples will be assigned a couple that they have to write a letter about. And this is basically along the realms of giving them some advice, but also giving them an outlook as to how they look at to them within their married life and how they conduct themselves. Some people will take this as a reason to literally go all in on a couple, to literally lambaste them at the end of the day, to make them feel shit about themselves. But usually I find the people who do that, because it's anonymous and they don't really give their name, some people will come up and say, well, you know what, I read it. Some people won't hold their hands up to that. But usually I find the people who like literally going on the anonymous side is the people that have their own issues going on in their own marriage, and they just want to make somebody else feel a little bit shitty at the end of the day. But we shall continue. All I would say is that the opening sequences of this is that Ella looks like she has complaints in the fact that JJ has not consummated their relationship right about now. All I would say is, isn't that the same kind of situation that she had when she was with Nathaniel? That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Isn't that kind of like this, when someone says, like, you know what, I want to take my time, I want to see how this will go on. But yeah, Ella is straight in. Yes, she had that full-on straight connection with JJ, and you wanted him to rip your clothes off, you wanted him to do X, Y, Z to you, And I thought she thought that was coming when she got rid of Nathaniel. It didn't, did it? Like, it really didn't come for her, did it? Like, literally didn't come for her. So then you kind of see Matt talking about the partner swap week and how he's now going to move going forward, and he believes that him and Adrian are in a good place. Whereas Adrian is not saying the same thing, Matt, my dear. She's not saying the same thing at all. She doesn't think that you are in a good place at the end of the day. And basically what Partner Swap Week did was show the discrepancies between you and a person that she had with her that was literally on her banter level. Literally showing her different things, because yes, as I already said, they're a strong connection. Adrian and Matt are strong on paper in regards to everything else and the experiences that they've had, but when it comes to the fundamentals of literally being able to be funny and silly with your partner sometimes and having that banter back and forth is just not there. And that's what's missing for Adrian. Like, she knows everything else is there, especially when it comes down to the sexualness of them both. But this is the one big piece from her point of view that is missing. And she keeps telling Matt, but it doesn't look like it's being taken on board at the end of the day. So then we get to Erica and Jordan, and Erica's basically talking about the fact that what people may think, because they literally did isolate themselves and they didn't get involved with any of the Partner Swap Week, but neither did Sean and Mark get involved with Partner Swap Week at the end of the day. But it seemed as though the focus was more on Erica and Jordan in the fact that they didn't get involved with it. Erica seems to be one of these people that has FOMO, which is fear of missing out. And as time goes on, as we'll get into the episode, people are just there whispering in her ear in terms of what she missed out on and what she could have potentially gained by getting involved in Partner Swap Week. But as I said in my previous episode, Erica was the one who made decision to stick by Jordan and his decision not to get involved in that week because of the situation that had arose with Luke and Jay. But then also it's triggered him to the point that it set off his OCD. So Erica decided that she was going to stick by Jordan and not get involved within that melee at all. So then she can't then turn around and blame Jordan for her fear of missing out because she made the decision not to be involved in it or engage in it in any way, shape or form. So then it moves to like Mark and Sean, and as I said, they didn't involve themselves in a partner swap week either because they weren't in a position to do so because of the situation that was occurring between them both at the moment. My thing is this process is so intrusive and so what's the word? It's so intrusive, but it's so I can't think of the word, but you can remind me what word I'm thinking of. And basically it kind of shows you exactly how you are as a person going forward in regards to being married to a stranger, in regards to how you deal with that marriage, in regards to how you maneuver within that relationship, in regards to how you see that person going forward. And I think it answers questions about the participants that they never knew about themselves. That's what this process does for them. Basically, Mark is saying that the current separation from Sean and how they are at the moment is come as a shock to him. But I would say that there must have been points where Sean was showing some type of behaviors in regards to where his thinking was leading him to the point that he decided to separate himself from Mark at that point. There must have been some kind of, at least a trigger or some kind of presentation in Sean's behaviors to say, do you know what, maybe I should question this, or maybe I should ignore it. And maybe Mark in that process ignored what was going on in front of his face at the end of the day. Sean is basically saying that he does have some decisions to make, and I'm like, yes you do, because the longer you leave it, the more you're going to lead this man on, and he doesn't need that. Mark needs to know where he stands now, as in right now. So basically Mark is saying that he wants to stay because he wants to try and make it work. He doesn't want to think of the worst case scenario, which is that, you know, Sean leaves and then that makes him leave and their marriage is dissolved at that point in time. He doesn't want that decision to be made. But at the end of the day, all I would say is Mark can't force someone to stay that he does, someone to stay where they don't really want to be. And Sean is showing all those signs that he doesn't really want to be there. He doesn't really want to be in this process with you at the end of the day, but he just hasn't verbalized that yet. So then it comes to the dinner party and see Adrian and Matt rolling in first, and like in the cars, this is in the taxis on the way there, and you can see that they're like completely poles apart from each other. But you can also see on Adrian's face that she's not happy, and I don't think Matt can really see and really read that Adrian is not happy right about now. You see Tom and Roz walking in first, and they look good. That's all I can say. They look good. They do look good. And I will say, because I ain't gonna say it later, from now throughout the dinner party, them two were getting on some extracurricular activities, if you know what I mean. All I'm gonna say is love egg. That's all I'm gonna say in regards to Thomas and Roz is love egg. All you have to do is go back and watch the show and look at Roz's face, and then the discussion that happens after that, and the fact that the microphone picked up the vibrations, and the fact that the microphone picked up when Thomas changed the setting on those vibrations, and the fact that Roz was trying to keep that shit in. Yes, we saw it all. We saw it all, Roz. We saw it all, Roz and Thomas. So then you see Ella and JJ walking, and yes, they look good and they look happy. Although Ella looked good. She looked good. She looked like a bloody great big yellow ostrich to me in that dress. But all I'm gonna say is she did look good. But I probably wouldn't have paired that dress with metallic silver boots. But hey ho. Hey ho. I'm not coming for the girl's dress sense in the slightest, because at the end of the day, my dress sense is not the best at all. So So then you see Arthur and Laura walking, and they looked well. They still they look like they were happy but not so happy, if you get my meaning. Now they didn't gel very well when they walked in through that door. Then you see Erica and Jordan walk in, and all I can say is that their entrance, they kind of look hella awkward, and I think that's because of the fact that they had the looming sense of the Jay and Luke situation over them. I'm not sure how everybody else was going to take that situation as well, because at the end of the day, what transpired between Luke and Jordan is what caused Luke to be kicked off the show along with Jay. So they weren't aware of how the other couples would take that, so they came in a little bit tentative, I should say. Jordan and Thomas having a conversation, and Jordan letting him know exactly how he felt around that situation and what had happened and how other people may be thinking and feeling. And Thomas, you did see, reassure Jordan and basically say to him, no, we're not thinking that way, this is how we are thinking. It would have been a good idea for you to like jump into the partner swap, because then you could have had an idea of coming back into the fold and knowing how other people felt, but we understood your reasoning as to why you didn't want to do that. So then it moves on from there, and you see Tasha and Paul walking in. And all I must say is Tasha looked good in the red. So you had Ella looking stush, you had Tasha looking stush, who literally like up the ante, and then you had Adrienne coming in up in the ante. So all of them had the same frame of mindset in terms of, I'm gonna dress like a big old ostrich, like with all the frills and the organza that you could find in different colors, and put it all together, and boom, there they were. So then you see Adrienne and Matt walking, and although they presented as a couple, you could see that Adrienne was not happy in regards to that. And then we just kind of have to see how that situation played out for them. Adrienne did explain to the rest of the girls that, you know, her swap was unreal, and the fact that how George was and how she bounced off George was so good is something that she can't replicate with Matt at the end of the day, so she doesn't see where they are. So then you see Matt chatting to the rest of the guys in regards to how he feels, and you just can see completely that Matt and Adrienne are on two separate planes altogether when they're talking about the relationship. Matt sees it one way and Adrienne sees it one way, and I'm like, this is going to be hella explosive when this comes together, because I don't think Matt is literally taken on board in terms of why Adrienne is feeling the way that she is, because he's thinking all I have to do is X, Y, and Z and that's going to fix it. But I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. So then you see George and Peggy walk in, and I have to say is that they look good. And Sean and Mark walk in, and it was the most awkward walking between the both of them. Like, you had Mark with his arm linked into Sean's, but he wasn't like pressed up to him. He was kind of leaning away, and Sean was kind of like looking like he was hiding while he was waving to the rest of the group at the same time. It was the most awkward entrance that I've ever seen, like seriously ever seen at the end of the day, because you can kind of see that Mark has feelings for Sean, but Sean does not reciprocate those feelings in the slightest. And now things have turned awkward between them. Laura and Erica having a talk. And I know that Roz and Erica also have a talk in terms of the partner swap and the things that she's missed out on. And I'm kind of like, why are you two like buzzing in this girl's ear? Like, seriously buzzing in this girl's ear, because Erica already has said that she is a fear of missing out person, and when that happens, yeah, you telling them what they missed out on is not going to bode well for the person that they missed it out for at the end of the day. And we see this play out at the dinner table between Jordan and Erica, and do you kind of think that Erica had this buzz in her ears, especially from Laura, because at the end of the day, Laura was set on getting back at Jordan, because Jordan had a lot of opinions in regards to everybody else's relationships, more so between Laura and Arthur, and Laura didn't like the opinions that Jordan gave. So what do you think Laura's going to do? What do people think Laura's going to do in that scenario? Is she not gonna, when she sees a weak link, gonna freakily swoop in and make sure that weak link can be spread a little bit wider? Like, seriously? Seriously, did you not, did nobody not click the game plan that was going on with Laura at that point in time? Especially when she was in the table and kept on saying to Jordan, well, you had a lot of us, you expressed a lot of opinions about other people's relationships. We are just expressing an opinion, so you shouldn't take it any other way but us expressing an opinion. And I'm like, yeah, nah, Laura, we see through, I saw through that shit. I absolutely saw through that shit because I knew what she was doing was gung-hoing for Erica and Jordan, but mainly Jordan because of what he said about Laura. So you see in the dinner that Erica and Jordan have a few set words, and this is in regards to what Laura's saying basically. So my thing is as I thought about it in regards to how Erica and Jordan behave with each other, at the end of the day, it got to a point where neither one of them two were listening to each other. So they were both talking over each other and weren't prepared to listen to either one or either one's assertions in regards to how they felt and how they thought and felt in, I get my words out, in regards to the missing the partner swap. So I didn't like the fact that Erica kept on throwing it back at Jordan in the fact that she made the decision to literally stay with him because she could see that it was proving difficult for him. And that's why she did not engage within the partner swap, because she said she was standing by her husband at that point in time. I didn't like the fact that Erica kept throwing it back in Jordan's face. But then on the flip side, she then wanted Jordan to accept how she felt in regards to missing out on partner swap week and missing out what would have told them a little bit more about themselves and how they interacted with each other. And then it kind of got into a slanging match with both of them. She then turned around and tried to say that when Jordan turned to her and said, oh, in this moment you abandoned me, she said, oh, that's not a me thing, that's a you thing at the end of the day. And I'm like, nah, let's dial it back a bit at the end of the day. Let's dial it back a bit at the end of the day. Because the conversations that you had at the table versus the conversation that you had with Jordan when it came about speaking about partner swap and how you felt about partner swap, and that other people may be talking about the fact that you didn't engage in partner swap and what they may have felt and thought, you didn't actually say to Jordan exactly what you said at the table in front of Laura or to Jordan at that point in time. You only just now released the freaking Kraken on Jordan at the dinner table, expecting him to then pick up and deal with it. And this is what I mean. So then she tried to say that Jordan was painting himself as a victim, and Jordan wasn't actually. Jordan was trying to tell people that I know my limits, I know my remits, I know my mental health. So you can't tell me how to think and feel in any given situation, because I know what would help me and support me in that sense. So he knew what helped and supported him in that sense was not having to integrate with the partner swap, which was his choice to make. At the end of the day, if Erica really wanted to do the partner swap, she could have gone over Jordan's head, whereas Jordan would have kept to himself and she could have done her thing, and the other wife, the other husband, I should say, whoever was meant to have then be partnered with Erica, yeah, would have stayed somewhere else at the end of the day. That's what could have happened. But Erica made the choice to stay and stick by Jordan. She made that choice to stick by him. She made that choice not to engage in the partner swap because she could see how much of a difficulty and a trigger in terms of his OCD that was impacting on Jordan was having. She could see that. But yet to sit at the table and then throw it back in his face as to, well, you're not listening to me and you're not seeing it from my point of view is absolutely redonkulous. Like, seriously redonkulous to me. So then, as I then come back to the table, here comes the letters, the anonymous letters. So it's Arthur and Laura's turn at this point in time. And basically the letter said that Arthur needs to think before he speaks. Laura sometimes can be patronizing and belittling towards Arthur, and basically saying that Arthur shouldn't lose himself trying to be the man that Laura wants, and basically saying Laura shouldn't lose herself in trying to make Arthur be the man he wants him to be. So Laura then turned around at the end of all of that and said, everyone's saying this and coming for me, but no one has actually sat down and asked Arthur what it is that he wants at the end of the day. And I thought at that point, my guy, you should have just went, shh. You should have just went, okay, I'll take that on board and like go with it. But no, you didn't. You had to say something. So basically, it was someone that asked Arthur, basically, what is it like? Do you see your marriage working on the outside world? So Arthur, as he did, just shoots off the hip and basically says that Laura is a part of it. And I'm like, what does that mean, that Laura is a part of it? What does it mean? It didn't make like what part of it is she a part of, Arthur? That didn't necessarily make sense in terms of the question that you were asked at the end of the day. So then basically Arthur is saying, I'm not perfect and she's not perfect, but we kind of meet in the middle. And this is what they mean by you should think, formulate your answers when someone's asked you something before you literally verbalize what it is that you're thinking at that point in time, because it just comes out sometimes as nonsense, sometimes as gobbledygook, and sometimes as Arthur does not give a shit about this process and how it affects him and how it works at the end of the day. That's what happens when Arthur speaks sometimes. So basically Arthur then turned around and said to Laura directly, do you see a future with me? Why was this woman's fucking pause so motherfucking long? Because if it was a straight up yes I do, you let that motherfucker out straight off the bat. But no, Laura's pause was long, and even Mark turned around and said, that is the longest non-answer I've ever heard in my life. And it was long, because Arthur asked you a direct question, do you see a future with me? And you could have fucking said yes or no. Or you could have actually said, well, this is where I'm at. But you didn't. You literally paused, like she paused a long time before she answered the question. And she was basically saying that that's something that they would definitely have to discuss, because she doesn't know how Arthur would fit in her world and how she would fit in Arthur's world, basically. And so she kind of backs the question back to Arthur without actually answering the question. So Arthur then turns around and says point blank, yes, he sees a future with her at the end of the day. And you could see that question, that letter, and then the questions afterwards literally knocked their equilibrium straight off, like completely. So then it moves to Roz and Thomas. Not much to say about their letter at the end of the day, because all it was saying is that sex is going to be important, and Thomas needs to open himself up more in regards to the sex department and feed into the wants and needs of Roz. And I'm like, you fuckers are saying this, and this girl's got an egg sitting right up in her hoochie hoo right now. This girl has an egg sitting right up in her hoochie hoo right now, to the point that the microphone's picked up the vibrations and you're talking to Thomas about sex and meeting Roz's needs. I think he's managing those pretty well without the form of a letter at the end of the day. And then we shall move on, because then it goes to Erica and Jordan. And basically the letter just told them, because we know it was Tasha and Paul that wrote the letter to Erica and Jordan, and basically it just said to them that they needed to stop focusing on other couples, spend their time focusing on themselves. And I thought, you know what, that's true, because they do, their mouth is in too many other people's relationships. They're very vocal when it comes to other people's relationships, but not their own at the end of the day. So they then carried on and said that their opinions are welcomed, but not always necessary. And again, true. Half of the stuff that Jordan said, half of the stuff that Erica said, they didn't need to say, but they felt that they needed to at the end of the day. So I thought, to be fair, that was a good letter, and they didn't take it any other way. To be fair, Jordan and Erica didn't take it any other way, because they kind of knew what they needed to work on. And then it was Arthur that literally piped up, and he just literally wanted to get at Jordan at the end of the day. And I was just like, Arthur, wind your neck in. Like, seriously, wind your neck in. It's not the time and the place, because you're pissed at the letter that you got. You're pissed at what was written in that letter, that you honestly, you thought in your mind that it came from Jordan and Erica, but I don't think it did. They didn't tell us who gave us all the letters in that sense, but I don't think it necessarily came from Jordan and Erica. So then we go to Matt and Adrian, and their letter basically said that they approach challenges differently, which is very true in regards to them. And basically, as individuals, they can look amazing together, but as a team, there needs to be a lot more work for them to cohesively work together within this marriage. So they did say that was, well, Adrian was quite quiet. I wouldn't say they did say Adrian was quite quiet. And it was Matt that became the mouthpiece, and basically saying he believed it was the other way round, because normally day in, day out, they're at a progressing stage at the moment. And basically he was saying that they are good with each other, that he's making these changes and that he'd been funny today and yada yada yada, whereas Adrian was sat there so stone cold quiet that someone had to say, well, what are your thoughts, Adrian, because you're really, really quiet. And that's when Adrian says that I feel like we're going round in circles, because she sat there and literally said what she was thinking and feeling. Like, to the point where Matt could not mistake what she was thinking and feeling. Do you think Matt took that on board? Like, people, do you think Matt took that on board? No, this man went every which way but motherfucking Sunday at the end of the day. He went every which way. He did not take that on board. He literally did not hear what the hell Adrian had just said in regards to their marriage and their relationship, and literally still took a spiel about how it was all good and that they're working on it and that they're in a good place. I'm like, Matt, did you hear what your wife just said? Did you really not hear what your wife just said, in the fact that she is totally unhappy and she thinks she's beating her head against the brick wall to try and tell you what it is that she wants, and that the fact that yous are not connected in that way, and she doesn't know what more she can do, and she got so hella upset at the table that you completely ignored all of that. Like, he completely ignored all of it, which was shocking in of itself. Like, seriously. And even to the point where Adrian was telling him that sometimes I think you want to tell you're telling yourself that it's really good, that it's positive, it's this, it's that and the other, to the point that you literally not listening to what I am saying, which is true. He isn't. And that just goes to show that he just invalidated her feelings all over that table, to the point where everybody was like, Matt, seriously, did you not hear what your wife just said? Like, really? So then it came to Tasha and Paul's letter. And basically the person who wrote that letter was saying that their arguments are explosive and that Tasha has an attitude at the end of the day and could use some work. And in using that work, she could deal with the issues more maturely than she is right now. And said that Paul needs to be a bit more assertive within the relationship. Oh, Tasha did not like that. Tasha did not like that in the slightest. And basically we asked who wrote that letter, and George put his hands up. George put his hands up and said, well, I wrote the letter. It wasn't necessarily to do with Peggy. I wrote that letter and I put the words down and I told Peggy in such of what I was writing, and she was in agreement in that regard. I think in terms, George was trying to protect Peggy from Tasha's ire at the end of the day. So he'd rather take the brunt of what was said in that letter and take her ire onto him. So basically what he was saying is that George is saying that he was looking out for Paul in regards to the situations that has happened between themselves, and especially with the fallout with the recent argument that they had with each other and how it impacted on Paul at that point in time. So basically Tasha was kind of deflective by saying, well, Paul asked for a fiery girl and I'm a fiery girl, but there's a difference between being fiery and being fiery. There's a difference in how you react to certain situations, especially when you don't want to kind of trigger your partner, but then you also want to understand also want them to understand what your triggers are in terms of yourself and how you most likely will react to those. So basically Tasha was on the back foot saying that, you know, if someone comes at me wrong, then I am going to hold my own. And that's how Tasha saw it. That is how Tasha saw it. She's quick to react, very quick to react. And we have seen it. We have seen it when it's been, albeit, you know, justified, that she's quick to react. But then there's other situations where she's not necessarily justified and she will react and then apologize later. So Paul basically said, in terms of how he is within the relationship, like, he communicated that if he wasn't able to communicate with Tasha in any way, shape or form, especially when these situations occur, then they would not be sitting right now in front of you, which is true. I think Paul can be quite passive in certain situations, but that doesn't mean he's a weak link at the end of the day. That doesn't mean he's going to sit there and allow someone to abuse him at the end of the day. That's how I'm seeing it. So all I thought was that George needed to keep his focus on the situation that's happening between him and his wife at the end of the day. But hey ho, it was anonymous letters. And I have to give props to George that he actually did put his hand up and say, you know what, I wrote that letter, and let the ire come at him as it may. So then we get to Peggy and George. And their letter says that George has compromised on both sides. So George has compromised a hell of a lot in terms of his marriage with Peggy. George has compromised every rotted thing at the end of the day. So basically they were saying that Peggy's a nurturing person, she's a soft person, she's And I'm like, I don't know if it's the edits that they're showing us, but Peggy does not come off as nurturing to me. That's all I'm going to say. Peggy does not come off as nurturing to me. So they basically then went on to say, is how long can someone wait in terms of the physical intimacy before they start to move on to someone else? And basically Peggy was saying that intimacy doesn't really make a relationship at the end of the day, and there's other things that make a relationship rather than literally gung-hoing it to sex. To a point, I understand where Peggy is coming from, so to a point I kind of agree with her, but then it's got to move on in some places, because at the end of the day, this man's who winky is gonna fall away. The men are made up to where the women are made up in that sense. We think completely differently when it comes to sexual desires, when it comes to initiating sexual instances in terms of having that sexual intimacy. So the thing of it is as well, is the longer it goes on, the longer it doesn't happen, is how much more are you expecting George to wait for you to catch up to where he is at that point? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So then we get to Ella and JJ's letter, and basically they say that, you know, the terms that Ella has used with JJ has made him feel uncomfortable, and she always brings it around to the sex chat. So basically Ella has another man who doesn't want to have sex straight off the bat. Okay, he doesn't want to have sex straight off the bat. And basically this person is saying that Ella just keeps on bringing up the sex chat, bringing up certain things, certain scenarios and situations that have happened between her and JJ when they've been out that JJ hasn't necessarily been comfortable with. So Ella was basically saying that, you know, it's an embarrassment. The whole sex thing, it being brought up all the time, it's a complete embarrassment to her. And she just thinks that at the end of the day, it's at a point where it's like, why does the sex thing always keep getting mentioned? And I'm like, because of you, my girl. It's because of you. When you fuck off and go and have these talks with these people that you're close with, the first thing that you say out of your mouth is, you and JJ have not committed the act yet. You and JJ have not had sex. You've not been doing nothing. You've not been bumping the uglies. It's from you, Ella. It's from you, Ella, that the sex question and the comment comes from at the end of the day. So when people are bringing it up, It's because you keep bringing it up. You are making an issue out of it. So JJ then pipes up and does say that, you know what, he's the type of person where he doesn't have sex straight away, and he's always been that way when he's entered into possible relationships. He has left it for a period of time in order to get to know a person before he moves fully committed into that situation with them. So he's basically said that he believes Ella is gorgeous, he believes Ella is sexy, he believes Ella is beautiful, but he's not at that point in himself to literally release himself physically for Ella in that sense. And that's something Ella's gonna have to put up with and freaking well accept if she wants to be with JJ. At the end of the day, it just boggles my mind that was the same thing, although be it, yes, they clashed with each other. This was the same thing that Nathaniel was saying in the first instance, and then you didn't want him, but yet you've picked up with a man who's saying exactly the same rotted thing, but yet you complaining still that you want to have sex with him, you want to move things on, Well, you'll have to wait, my girl. At the end of the day, Ella is going to have to wait. So then it's the penultimate bit of this episode where Mark and Sean have their letter, and the person who's wrote that letter turns around and says there's worries in regards to them appearing to be more friends than anything else. This is what they are here for at the end of the day. As a couple, they said that they don't feel that Mark and Sean are compatible with each other. And is it a case of that they are just now wasting each other's time? And I think at the end of that, it kind of put paid to their relationship, because that was the point that I think Sean then decided that I need to make a decision. And he basically then went and pulled Mark for a talk, which he did do, and made the decision that he no longer wanted to stay in the experiment, and he didn't see this going any further than it was. And the fact that he was being honest and true in the fact that he really didn't want to hurt Mark. Now Mark was kind of like, well, I don't believe that that's true, in the terms that you don't want to hurt me, because what are you doing right now? You're hurting me. And I'm just like, no, he's not my guy, because if Sean had stayed within that experiment, it would have hurt Mark all the more, because he wasn't being true to himself at that point in time. Now Sean is being true to himself and where he is in regards to their marriage, in regards to their relationship, in not wanting it to go any further. And it's best, he told him now, than keep it going over the fear of not hurting Mark and then essentially literally destroying this man at the end of it all. So he did make the decision that he was going to leave at that point in time, and Mark knew that at that point, as Sean left, he would have to leave. So they went back in and they explained this to the rest of the group, and the rest of the group were quite accepting. And yes, there were a lot of tears, and it was kind of sad to see, because I felt for both of them, because I was kind of hoping that they could have worked it out with each other. But you know, this show is not for the faint-hearted at the end of the day. This experiment is not for the faint-hearted. So that is where I am going to end it, my renegades, and everybody else who comes in and has a look and has a listen. As I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button, so when you know I am on and doing videos. And I'll speak to you all again soon. Peace out.